Good afternoon, Diego. We're right outside Elmendorf military base here on the north end of Anchorage. As you mentioned, those talks between Russian President Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump have now wrapped up. As you said, the meeting went on a bit shorter than was expected initially. It appears that they spoke for about 2.5 hours. The meetings began here at about 11:30, 11:45 a.m. local time. There was quite a lavish red carpet welcome by Trump for Putin. When Putin first arrived, the initial plans were for Putin to ride in his own limousine to the meeting area where the two were going to sit down. It ended up that the two of them got in the same limousine together and rode over to that meeting hall. They then spoke with a couple of aides on each side, so it was a 3-on-3 meeting. And then they emerged and held a brief press conference. Each of them spoke one time. Here's a little bit about Russian President Vladimir Putin and what he had to say.
No summits between Russia and the U.S. for 4 years, and that's a long time. This time was very hard for bilateral relations, and let's be frank, they have fallen to the lowest point since the Cold War. I think that's not benefiting our countries and the world as a whole. It is apparent that sooner or later we had to amend the situation to move on from the confrontation to dialogue. And in this case, a personal meeting between the heads of state has been long overdue.
Now, Russian President Putin said that it was a productive meeting between the two heads of state. A Russian official, top Russian official, right after the talks ended, said the discussions had gone, quote, remarkably well. But there were very few specifics from the Russian president's side. He said very little about what they had agreed to. He outlined some of the things that Russia would find important in any eventual peace deal, including security for Russia when it comes to Ukraine, which he called a brotherly nation. Here, in turn, is what President Trump said shortly after Putin spoke. He talked about their deep relationship between the two countries, between the two presidents. Here's a little bit of what he said.
There's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. We really made some great progress today.
So Trump said that the two sides agreed on a number of points, not all, he said, but many areas. But of course, the takeaway for a lot of folks here after the meeting concluded is there are very few specifics about what they agreed on. We have no idea what were some of the common areas of agreement, any kind of steps forward. The two presidents did not take questions during the press conference. Once they had both finished speaking, they shook hands on the podium and then walked off. And so basically at this point, versus where we were this morning, we have very little idea of whether we're any closer to a ceasefire in Ukraine, whether any of Ukraine's concerns have been mollified at all. There are a lot of question marks now surrounding this one meeting, this summit here in Anchorage today, and whether that bodes well for the future. Diego?
Exactly, Hendrik. You're bringing up Ukraine here, and I'd like to get a sense of how does it look, how do you think it's playing out over there for President Zelensky after this summit that has some still sticking points, according to Trump, Hendrik?
Yeah, no, there are many sticking points, it would appear, because obviously the two presidents were not in a position to announce anything substantive in terms of what they have come away with. Zelensky spoke today and said he's very concerned because the Russian attacks on areas in Ukraine are continuing, he said. Certainly not a good omen for him. He's going to want to hear from Trump in terms of specifics. What are some of the things they talked about? Were there areas of agreement? Is there some kind of light at the end of the tunnel for him and for Ukraine? It's not clear he's going to hear that, but as you heard Trump say, he does plan to call Zelensky and the folks in NATO to apprise them of what this meeting today was all about.